This right here is one of the hottest new gadgets in backpacking. And I get why. I mean, it's sexy, it's lightweight, it's somewhat affordable. And look, I love shaving ounces off my pack weight, and I've been known to spend a few bucks to shave a few ounces. But I'm here to tell you, this is not worth your money. Today, I'm gonna go through the reasons why I am not a big fan of this tiny fan. And I'll show you what I recommend instead. Hey y'all, my name is Adam and this is Dad Camps. Thanks for clicking on my video. I make content about being a dad, taking my kids outdoors, and talking about all the gear that goes with it. If you like those things too, make sure you subscribe. All right, so if you're not familiar with it, this is called the Zero Pump from Flextail. And this is a sleeping pad inflator, supposedly the world's lightest electronic sleeping pad inflator. So I'm gonna go over the reasons why I don't think it's worth it for you to spend your money on this, and then I'm gonna talk about what I recommend instead. So let's jump into those. All right, the first one is written right on the side there. It says 1.2 ounces. That's like giant marketing propaganda right there. Because guess what? It's not 1.2 ounces. It's 1.2 ounces with no battery and no adapter and no little string. But it can't run it without the battery. You can't even like plug it in and use it with a power source or something like that. You have to have the battery in. So a little bit of false advertising, in my opinion, there that it's actually 1.2 ounces, because with the battery in, it weighs about a half an ounce more, almost 2 ounces with the battery. So you put the battery in, that takes it to 1.8 ounces right off the bat. Now this inflator comes with about 6 different adapters that fit on it, and these are pretty big and heavy for being this like uber light fan. And you know, if you take whichever adapter you think fits your mattress the best, and if you add the battery and the little you know, carry string on there, which I suppose you don't need, but you know, it's handy. That takes it to, let's put it on the scale here. That takes you up to about 2.5 ounces. So if you need to have an adapter, so if this fan doesn't happen to fit perfectly on your sleeping pad and you do need one of the adapters, that already takes this up to 2.5 ounces. That makes it much less competitive in the lightweight, ultralight inflator market. One thing about the design of this that I don't love too is the button on the side here seems to be a little bit too easy to turn on, because it just takes 2 little clicks right on the side. So if you bump it in your pack, it's going to turn it on, and it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to just, you know, have something bump into that. The last thing I don't really love about the Zero Pump is it's pretty pricey. They're about $55 right now, which is pretty expensive for something that only inflates your air mattress. So I have some more stats and specs to compare, but let me go ahead and cut to the chase and get to what I recommend, and then we can compare the two. This right here is the Flextail Tiny Pump X. Ooh la la. And this has been my go-to pump for some years now. And this one on its own weighs 3 ounces. And obviously, you know, you're gonna need one of the adapters to go with it, because that little port right there is not going to fit any sleeping pad. But the adapters that come with the Tiny Pump X are all very small and lightweight. Often on trips, I end up just throwing them all in the bag because they're all so tiny anyway. In fact, if you compare all the weights of all adapters for the Tiny Pump X, you've got 0.4 ounces compared to the adapters of the Zero Pump. Those weigh 2.3 ounces altogether. And I've only ever needed this adapter, and I've been able to inflate in a variety of different sleeping pads. And so, if you weigh this inflator with this adapter, which can be flipped around to do different sizes and things like that, with the battery built in, by the way, those all together weigh 3.2 ounces. So one of the things I love about the Tiny Pump X is it's multi-purpose. The inflator part alone is meant to do more than just inflate a backpacking sleeping pad. It can also inflate things like float tubes or inflatable toys for kids. There's an adapter that looks like this that's meant to go into those ones you usually have to like bite on and blow up with your mouth. This will stick down in there to release the valve. That way you can inflate as well as deflate the inflatable tubes, which is awesome. You can put the deflator, you know, you can put the accessory on the deflator part right there, and you can deflate those tubes just as easily as you can inflate them, which is great. I've been able to like take some inflatable tubes with me on hikes and trips out to lakes with my kids, blow up tubes for them to play on these backcountry lakes, and then be able to deflate them nice and easy, get them back in the pack, take off. With the Zero Pump, you can't do that. There is no adapter for this that can fit nozzles like that. It can be used as a fire bellows. The air that comes out of this little hole here actually comes out with a pretty good amount of pressure. And so you can actually use that to get a fire started, blow that right into the fire, and you probably hear the difference there between that motor and the Zero Pump motor as well. Zero Pump is too weak to be able to be used as a fire bellows, and the air dissipates too much because it's not directed into a small little channel like that. There is an adapter for vacuum sealing bags, and it's got those little threads on it right there, so you can actually screw those onto those vacuum seal bags and then use the deflator, pump out all the air, and unscrew it. Super handy for just traveling in general, but you could even use that for backpacking to save space in your pack, but also something that just comes in handy in everyday life. And again, the Zero Pump, too weak, and no adapter to actually perform that kind of function. And the best multi-purpose use of the Tiny Pump X comes with a lantern. And I love this lantern. It goes from 50 to 160 to 400 lumens, which is a pretty good lantern. And again, Zero Pump, no lantern whatsoever. Just an inflator, in case I haven't drilled that home yet. But I love the lantern on the Tiny Pump X because it creates a great dome light in your tent, and it has this little clip at the top of it, which just pops off like so, and you can loop it through one of the loops at the top of your tent, clip it on there. It's super easy. And once you've got your pad inflated, you've got a little dome light inside your tent, provides great, ambient light in your tent. I even love keeping it on the low setting to not totally drain the battery, but if you're going to be going away from your tent at night, you can keep this clipped inside your tent, keep it on, and then it helps you kind of see where your tent is from a distance. It's just easily see your way back in the dark. I also think that this light is a little bit harder to turn on, just being that the button is in the middle of this flat surface here. I think it's a little bit harder to press compared to being on the curve of the outside of the Zero Pump. I've never accidentally turned this on inside my pack. I have heard of other people doing that with the Zero Pump, and that's just a pain. You hear it come on in your pack and you got to take it off and get it all out and turn it off. Nobody wants to mess with that. So spec-wise, the two pumps say that they both have the same wind speed, which is 180 liters per minute. However, the difference comes in on the PSI. So the Tiny Pump X claims that they have a 4.5 kPa rating compared to the Zero Pump is a 2.5 kPa. And you can definitely feel the difference between the airflow on these. The Zero Pump, you can feel the air moving, but it definitely does not feel like pressurized at all. Compared to the Tiny Pump X, it definitely comes out with some force, and I even actually use this in my office as an air duster, and I can like clean off my keyboard and my monitors and dust around my electronics using this. The Zero Pump, again, not strong enough to do that. And on top of all that, the Tiny Pump X is about half the price. It's about $29 typically, and I'll put links to these in the description below if you want to go check out the current price. But for $29, that seems like a much more affordable option, and you get all those other features as well. To me, that is an incredible value compared to spending the $55 on basically the same inflator that only does that, just in order to save, half to maybe 1 ounce. And FYI, there is a new version of the Tiny Pump out now called the 2X, Tiny Pump 2X, which basically doubles the battery size and almost doubles the amount of inflation time that you have. So the Tiny Pump X, the older model can run for about 15 minutes. The newer model, I think they call it the 2024 X, can run for about 20 minutes. The Tiny Pump 2X can run for about 30 minutes. But even still, even with the older model, which I have, 15 minutes of inflation time is going to get you through most trips. I took this on a 5-day backpacking trip in Glacier National Park, and it only died on the last day. It started to decline when I was inflating my mattress, and I used it as a lantern each night and inflated my mattress 4 times. So, you might have to charge it if you're going on a longer trip than that, or if you are inflating multiple people's mattresses, like your whole family or something like that. Then you might want to look at getting the 2X, getting the larger battery. The 2X only weighs about half an ounce more than the X, and it's the same wind speed, same PSI, just double the battery life. And I believe that costs $39. All right, and I thought I'd do a quick demo here and compare these two and do a comparison of the inflation time, inflating the same mattress. I'll inflate it with one, deflate it, inflate it by the other, and see if there's much difference in the amount of time that it takes to inflate.
All right, so the zero pump is up first, and I've got this going at 10x speed. Inflating my new Ampex Ultralight camp pad, which I'm very excited to try out. Going to be testing that out on a trip here in a couple weeks, and we'll be posting a full report on that, so make sure to subscribe and check out that. Got this to a full comfortable sleeping level before I stop the clock here. And the zero pump came in at 4 minutes and 7 seconds. And then spared through the deflating, and then we went to the tiny pump. And one con about the tiny pump is it didn't stick in the hole, so you do have to hold it the whole time, where the zero pump actually does just stay in there, which is nice. But the tiny pump does win the time challenge at about half the time, 2 minutes less.
So wrapping up my thoughts here, if you don't have a pump already and all you need is something that is going to inflate a lot of mattresses, like for multiple people on a long trip, and you just have to have the lightest possible thing on the market, then yes, okay, go out and buy the zero pump. And please buy it from my affiliate link below. It helps support the channel and I appreciate it. But honestly, I think you'd be better off putting that $55 towards some other piece of gear and trying to get a lighter weight version of some other piece of gear. And you could just bring the inflation sack that comes with the sleeping pad, and it weighs less than the zero pump and has all the same features. Just saying. In my opinion, it's much better to put your hard-earned money towards a Tiny Pump X or the 2X. And speaking of hard-earned money, it's hard to earn money here on YouTube. And so if you don't mind just giving this video a like, help this video get out to more people and help someone else as well. And if you want to see some other backpacking lantern options, I've got this video here where I compare the Tiny Pump X to some other potential backpacking lantern options. So check that out, and don't forget, you got this, Dad.